Year 2003. An expert from Christie's takes a flight to New York, then another flight, then an even smaller one. He lands in a remote corner of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. He knocks on the door of a wooden cabin, and there, hanging on the living room wall, in an ugly white frame from the 30s, there she is. Specialists had been searching for her for over 100 years. They believed she might have been destroyed. The owner found her among the furniture of a building he bought secondhand. He hung her in the living room because he thought she was beautiful. Quite sensual, he said. He had no idea who she was. Her name is Cleopatra, and she was never what they told you. Before talking about history, before talking about Waterhouse, I want you to look at this painting. I'm not telling you anything yet. Just look at it. A woman reclining on a leopard skin, golden fabrics, a diadem on her head, and a gaze. That gaze. She is not looking into the void. She is not looking at a lover outside the frame. She is looking at you, directly. And in that gaze there is no submission, no sweet invitation, none of what you would have been taught to expect from a woman in a 19th century painting. There is intelligence. There is challenge. There is danger. This painting is 65 centimeters wide. It seems small for the amount of power it contains. Year 1887. Queen Victoria celebrates her Golden Jubilee. 50 years on the throne. The British Empire at its peak. An illustrated London magazine, The Graphic, decides to celebrate in grand style. It commissions 21 painters to portray heroines from Shakespeare. An institutional, respectable, Victorian gallery. 20 painters deliver exactly what is expected of them. Modest, angelic, virginal women. Everything very appropriate for the Jubilee. Number 21 delivers this. John William Waterhouse painted Cleopatra reclining on a leopard skin, without a corset, looking at the viewer with an intensity that Victorian canons had no framework to process. The quote accompanying the painting was from Antony and Cleopatra by Shakespeare. "Where is my serpent of old Nile?" That is how he calls me. Cleopatra speaking of herself, appropriating the masculine language that defines her. Already in 1888, Waterhouse understood something that art history would take decades to articulate. To understand this painting, you need to understand its author. John William Waterhouse was born in Rome in 1849. His father was an English painter. He grew up among Roman marbles, among mythology made stone, among the light of the Mediterranean. At the age of 5, his family returned to London. Think about it, a child who has breathed ancient Rome and suddenly lives in Victorian London. That tension between two worlds never disappeared from his painting. He studied at the Royal Academy. His early works are academic, archaeological, in the line of Almita Dumas. Scenes from antiquity, Roman architecture, all very correct. He has talent, but he still does not have his own voice. The voice arrives in the 80s, when he discovers the Pre-Raphaelites. The Pre-Raphaelites are a group of English painters who rebel against academicism and seek something more. Emotional intensity, symbolism, woman as the center of a narrative charged with melancholy and mystery. Rossetti, Millais, Burne-Jones. Waterhouse looks at them and recognizes something. He does not become fully Pre-Raphaelite. He never abandons academic rigor, but he absorbs from them that capacity to make woman the axis of a story that goes far beyond what is visible on the surface. From 1888, the year of Cleopatra, his work becomes unmistakable. He will paint the Lady of Shalott, Circe, Lamia, Medusa, Ophelia, Psyche. All women, all with an enormous symbolic weight, all looking at the world from a place that is not the one Victorian society assigned them. Waterhouse had an obsession, the powerful woman, the dangerous woman, the woman who drags man towards his ruin, consciously or unconsciously. And he painted her with an empathy that his contemporaries did not always understand. Let us go back to the painting. Now that you know who painted it and why, look at it again. The pose. Reclining, but not passive. There is an enormous difference between a woman who rests and a woman who chooses to recline. Cleopatra chooses. The body is relaxed, but the mind, visible in that gaze, is not at all. The leopard skin. In pictorial tradition, the leopard and the tiger are attributes of Dionysus, the god of ecstasy and loss of control. Waterhouse does not seat her on a golden throne, does not surround her with servants, does not place her on a boat on the Nile. He puts her on the skin of a fierce animal. Her throne is predatory nature. The golden diadem. the only concession to the classical iconography of the queen, a single detail that anchors her identity without needing anything more. And then there is what is not in the painting. The Shakespeare quote mentions the serpent, "My serpent of old Nile." But on the canvas there is no serpent. None. Waterhouse deliberately removed it, because he does not need it. She is the serpent. The threat is not in an external animal. It is in that gaze, in that intelligence, in that absolute control of the situation. And one more thing, technically, notice the palette. Golden, warm, Mediterranean tones, but in direct contrast with the dark intensity of the eyes. Waterhouse creates a visual tension that never resolves. The painting does not let you rest. It keeps you in suspense. But who was Cleopatra really? Because what Waterhouse painted is an interpretation. Beautiful, powerful, revolutionary for its time. But an interpretation nonetheless, based on Shakespeare, who in turn was based on Plutarch, who wrote a century after Cleopatra's death. The real story is more complicated and, if anything, even more fascinating. Cleopatra the Seventh Philopator was born in the year 69 before Christ. She was the last sovereign of the Ptolemaic dynasty, descendants of the Macedonian general Ptolemy, who seized Egypt after the death of Alexander the Great. Which means that Cleopatra was Greek, not Egyptian, the first of her dynasty to speak Egyptian fluently. She also spoke Ethiopian, Hebrew, Arabic, Parthian, and several more dialects. 9 languages, according to ancient sources. She was not queen because of a man. She was queen in her own right. The seduction of Julius Caesar and of Mark Antony was not just beauty, which ancient sources do not even agree was extraordinary. It was political intelligence. Each alliance was a strategic move to maintain the only independent kingdom left in the Eastern Mediterranean against the expansion of Rome. What the Romans could not forgive her, and that is why they turned her into a monster in their Chronicles, was this: that she was a woman who governed alone, who made decisions alone, who used them as much as they believed they were using her. The sources we have about Cleopatra were written mostly by her enemies, by the Romans who defeated her. It is the equivalent of knowing someone's story solely through the words of those who wanted to destroy her. And that destruction was prolonged in painting for 2,000 years. Since the Renaissance, painters chose to represent almost exclusively the death of Cleopatra, the beautiful semi-naked queen, expiring with the serpent on her chest. The subliminal message was always the same. The powerful woman always ends up destroyed. Female hubris always has its punishment. Guido Reni painted her in 1630 in an ecstasy that mixes pain and pleasure in a disturbing way. Tiepolo turned her into a court spectacle. And in 1887, the same year of the graphics commission to Waterhouse, Alexander Cabanel painted his death of Cleopatra, lying down, naked, dying. All painting the same thing. All choosing the same moment. The moment of defeat. Waterhouse breaks with that radically. His Cleopatra is not dying. She is not semi-naked for the voyeur's pleasure. She is not the victim of any serpent. She is alive. She is awake. And she is looking at you. It is the first time in centuries that someone paints Cleopatra with control of the situation. Not as an object of contemplation, but as a subject who contemplates. Those of you who have seen the video about Hylas and the nymphs on this channel will recognize something. 8 years after Cleopatra, Waterhouse painted Hylas and the nymphs. And the obsession is the same. Woman as a trap, beauty is danger. But there is a crucial difference. In Hylas, the danger is spread across several figures. There are many. They surround the young Hylas, dragging him towards the water almost involuntarily, as if the danger were collective, unintentional. In Cleopatra, the danger is concentrated in a single pair of eyes. It is individual, it is conscious, it is intellectual. If in Hylas the man is devoured by feminine nature, in Cleopatra the man, you, the viewer, is simply evaluated. And the evaluation is not turning out particularly favorable. Waterhouse understood that there are many forms of power, and that the most difficult to represent is the one that does not need to move to be exercised. Let us go back to 1889. The set of the 21 Shakespearean heroines goes to auction at Christie's. Cleopatra is sold to a London merchant for 90 guineas. And then she disappears. Peter Trippi, who wrote the definitive monograph on Waterhouse in 2002, catalogued her simply as not located. Specialists came to think she might have been destroyed. 113 years of silence. Until in the early 21st century, the owner of a cabin in Colorado reads in the newspaper that Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber has just paid £6.5 million for a Waterhouse painting, the world record for a Victorian work. The penny drops. The man looks at the wall of his living room. He writes to Christie's attaching a photograph. Martin Bisley, senior director of the auction house, takes a flight to New York, then another internal flight, then another smaller one. And there, in that wooden cabin, he confirms that the painting is authentic. In June 2003, Cleopatra goes to auction for the second time. Estimate, between £300,000 and £500,000. It does not reach the reserve price. It returns to private hands. It still cannot be seen in any museum in the world. The painting remains in private hands, invisible to the public. Perhaps that is the most appropriate thing. Waterhouse painted Cleopatra as he imagined her, powerful, dangerous, and misunderstood. History painted her as her enemies needed her, seductive, exotic, inevitably destroyed. 2,000 years later, we still cannot agree on who she was. Perhaps because neither of the two versions is entirely false. Perhaps because both are projections of what each era needs to see in her. The next time you see an image of Cleopatra, in a film, in a museum, anywhere, remember that gaze. Waterhouse's gaze. And ask yourself who needed you to forget her. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. Every week there is a story like this waiting for you. Until next time, on the Brush Chronicles.